Well, welcome to the section on products and devices. What I want to do here is I want to illustrate to you that there's a wide selection of things that's available for both home supplementation and use in the clinics. We're going to insert slides into here, and I'm also going to definitely show you things like this Oxymune. Oxymune is a multi-supplement. It creates a catalytically generated oxygen. It gives you ionic minerals, enzymes, and amino acids in a base of structured water, and it's charged with subtle energy frequencies. Part of this formula I came up with, so I'm very proud of this. I thought of the name, I thought of everything on here. It's carried by several distributors all over the world. As you can see over here, this is in Italian. There are Italian distributors, Spanish distributors. It's going to be sold in South Africa. It's going everywhere. It's a very nice thing. And I like it because it's the general supplement that everyone can take at all times. Put it in your pocket, you take it with you. It gives you all these things in one serving. So whenever you're eating somewhere, you're drinking, you just put some drops in the water and you drink the glass. It's that simple, 3 times a day. Follow the manufacturer's directions in the back. They have another adjunct to that called Oxysil, and Oxysil is silica combined with the OxyLift. So there's one particular supplement that I'm really quite proud of. The reason I'm proud of this supplement is because I made the whole formula myself. I took all the research literature I could find, I spoke to doctors and experts, and I said, what is the one thing, besides oxygen or water, we know everyone's deficient in those things, well, what is the one thing everybody needs? And resoundingly I was told minerals. The soil, the food doesn't have minerals. If you're sitting somewhere and you've got a bagged lunch, that food does not have minerals in it like it's supposed to. If you're home, even eating a beautiful meal prepared by your loved ones, chances are there's minerals missing from that food because they bought it in the store. And the store gets it from the mega farms, and the mega farms are using played out soils that have lost most of their mineral content. So I came up with the answer to that is how do we get the bodies to get the proper nutrition? This is more important than vitamins. Vitamins can't work without minerals. So what are you going to do when the soils are played out in a country and all the food doesn't have minerals in it? People are selling colloidal minerals, which are very tiny minerals. They're not rocks. They're from ancient prehistoric plants. Well, I went one better. I said, okay, these colloidal minerals are fine, but they're liquids, and they're sold in quart bottles. And you got to take them around with you in these bottles if you want to use them all day. Let's say you go to work, go to the office, you got to drag a bottle into work. If you have these, they're powdered, they're desiccated, they're dried plant minerals, prehistoric humic shale, formerly rainforest plants, taken out of the deserts in Utah, the ancient seabeds, and powdered and put into capsule form. Then I said, what is the second most important thing that's missing from the American diet? Most people's diets, and that is sulfur. Sulfur compounds, biological sulfur, which is so important for cell wall permeability. MSM delivers, it's a compound that has sulfur in it. MSM delivers the sulfur to the body, replacing what's missing when they broke the sulfur cycle and they stopped putting manure on the crops because big mega business agri-farming finds that inefficient to spread horse manure around. They spray things instead. And so the sulfur is missing from most people's diets. So I said the minerals are gone. That's the most important thing. The second thing is the sulfur. That's gone. Okay, do we need anything else? Well, vitamin C. Most people don't have enough vitamin C. Our bodies don't make it. We have to ingest the vitamin C daily to get the benefit of vitamin C for our immune system and to activate the MSM. So I then said, okay, I've got these 3 things, but I got to put them together. So we did test after test to find the perfect harmonic ratio of the proportions of the mixture so that this supplement will give the most benefit to the most people the most often by the way it's formulated. And I'm very proud of this. It's called Oxy Earth. Oxy Earth, of course, oxygen. The MSM allows the cell walls to absorb the oxygen, and Earth because you got your minerals that are missing from the Earth. So we're going to see a lot more of this product. Most of your immune system is in your colon. Your colon is very vital to the production of your immune chemicals, the absorption of your food, and the elimination of your waste. There's another product they make called OxyFlush. Now what OxyFlush does is OxyFlush goes into your intestines and colon, creates oxygen. The oxygen liquefies or oxidizes all the pollution, all the garbage, the mucus, everything that's been collecting in there your entire life, and you start getting your colon cleaned out. It also makes it very much more pleasurable to go to the bathroom because it comes out easier and it's smoother and it's very nice, very nice. That's another product. And what I've tried to do is formulate these basic products: the OxyLift, the OxyEarth, the OxyFlush. Then we also have, there's an OxySil, which is silica, which is vital for your blood vessels to work, hair, skin, and nails, in a super absorbable form, where it's so small it goes straight in through all the garbage, straight through all the pollution because it's so tiny. Your body can use it finally. And it's natural plant form. They're not rocks. We've also taken the highest quality materials. I've found that people who do major oxygen cleansing with either ozone therapy, or they drink, let's say, food-grade hydrogen peroxide in a dilute form, which used to be the only way you could do this. Well, there's a lot of those stories still going around. Those people will have cleansing reactions that aren't suitable for the masses, for the general public. So I came up with these formulas so that people, anybody who knows nothing about nutrition, who's never done a cleanse, is eating cheeseburgers and sitting in front of the TV for 50 years, smoking dope and drinking beer, he can use it, they can use it, she can use it, and not have a real bad problem. But the trick is you got to use, as far as a cleansing reaction goes, where it all flushes out real quickly and you don't feel good. But those people can take it for a long time. And it's the long time, it's the continual everyday use of the product that makes it work so well. We've interviewed all kinds of people that have tried the product, or all the products, whatever, and I say, what happened? They say, well, it didn't work, I tried it. I said, well, tell me about how often did you take it? Tell me about how many days you took it, how many weeks, how many months you took it. Oh, well, I tried it a couple of times, and those are the people that don't get results. Everybody I've tracked, because this is the basis of life. Minerals, oxygen, and water are the basis of life. Missing sulfur, for example, the basis of life itself. If they don't take it continuously every day without fail for, let's say, 3, 4, 5 months, they're not going to see the possibilities that are available once you replenish your reserves that are missing. Once you get your body the raw materials it needs, your DNA, your RNA, all of it is set up perfectly to repair you, to fix you, to give you energy, to give you health, and give you happiness. But it's got to have the fuel. You can't have a fire without shoveling coal in. The next thing I want to talk about here is OxyWater. Now, OxyWater is simply a very purified water with oxygen put into the bottle in such a manner that it stays in the water. Now, this is very similar to having a water cooler in your house, and that puts oxygen, 40 parts per million, in it. And we're showing you a slide right now of this water cooler. But that and this, I think, are the future of oxygen therapies for the masses. Oxygenated water, either from a cooler or from a bottled situation where you drink it all the time at home. I think in the future, this is going to be the mass delivery system for everybody. Who can complain about oxygen in water? It's really very simple. This next product is called Ouzo. And there's also another one called Ozo. There's a whole class of products that are ozonated olive oil. And what they do is they take ozone, and just like right here we see in this little container, we see this filter stone bubbling oxygen into the water. Well, if they had a container filled with oil and they bubbled ozone through it, the ozone would be trapped in the oil, and then they sell the oil, and so it's a time release. You put the oil on yourself, and the ozone time releases into the skin. Very good for a number of things. They even market this type of thing as a cosmetic. This is called Ultimate Anti-Wrinkle. You check this out on the websites, you'll see that it's ozone put into a specific type of cream with specific type of oils in it. People are saying that that's doing wonders for their complexions. There's another product that's in the oxygen family. This one is called Dynamo 2. This is a class of products known as stabilized oxygens. These are basically chlorite NaClO3, not 2, NaClO3, it's not bleach. It's a salt solution with chlorite that's holding extra oxygen atoms to it. When you put it in your mouth, the pH, which is very high, immediately drops down, releasing all the oxygen. It's very safe to take. I took this product for a long, long time, and it's very good. There's other things that we can tell you about. Hydrogen peroxide, sold in the US drugstores, 3%. The reason no one's using this hydrogen peroxide, and all my letters and all my books and all my lectures, I'm not referring to this peroxide. This 3% sold in the drugstores has heavy metals, phenols, and quinones in it, if you look at the ingredients, so no one wants those in their body. They go to the more purer forms of the 35%. This is a very expensive looking machine. What this is called, this company is no longer in business, Pacific Ozone Company, water H2O sterilizer. Now what it does is when you turn it on, I can't do that because it'll upset the mic, but if I turned it on, this ozone generator is being fed pure oxygen from this tank. This is a bottled medical grade oxygen. This oxygen then runs into the ozone generator portion of the machine and travels through the circuitry, gets turned into ozone, comes out, goes through the tube, and then you can use the ozone, for example, in this case here, to simply bubble water with ozone. And what you do here is you're charging, see the ozone's coming out of the filter stone like an aquarium, but this is an ozone resistant stone. And that bubbling stone will purify this water completely. There won't be any fluoride or chlorine in here if we bubble ozone through here. There's other ways to treat water, and we'll get into that as well. But that's basically how, if I was to replace this with a syringe, we now have medical grade, injectable grade ozone. If I was to fill a syringe with the output of this machine, which is a medical grade machine, it makes the equivalent of a medical grade machine from Europe, then this syringe could be used in injection work, which we talk about other places on the tape. So that's how simple it is to have ozone. Okay, there's another way to show you how ozone is easily produced. And this is basically, if you get a modern ozone air purifier, this or something like it, it'll actually be two stainless steel plates with a ceramic filter in the middle. This is an antique version, much heavier, much more bulkier. An antique version of that. I'm going to turn it on for a second to show you, but it's going to make a lot of noise in the mic. You'll see that. So I won't leave it on long. But you can see, you may be able to see the color there, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. I'll turn it off again so as to not bother the mic. Now what happens is air, O2, oxygen, goes through the spaces in between here and turns into ozone because there's an electromagnetic field, electrostatic field, high frequency, low amperage, high voltage, and the oxygen passes through there, turns into ozone. So this generates ozone. In modern home ozone air purifiers, you have two stainless steel plates with a ceramic wafer in between. That's what generates, same principle. Two electrodes, oxygen passes through, turns into ozone after passing through an electrical field. This is an antique called Calazone. They're not made anymore. There's another ozone home water purifier, home device. This is for the air. Now this one's for the water. In the same way, this is called Nature Clean. In the same way that this is now bubbling through here, you would simply take this tube, the output of this came from my sink. It was mounted next to my sink. I brought it down here from home. So I put this on the wall and I run the output. It takes air, puts it into this tube, turns it into ozone, and then we bubble it into water. So imagine that this is the sink, and this is the sink water, and the vegetables are in there. Well, this would be floating in with the tomatoes and the lettuce, and it would be killing all the bacteria, sterilizing, oxidizing the pesticides, whatever's in there, if you leave it in there long enough. So it's very useful things to have around the house. There's ways you can, same thing, imagine shower water. You're taking a shower, you're pumping the ozone into the water, same way, and then you spray it on your body. Your skin will absorb it. There's different machines. This one is a less expensive model. This comes out of California. I think it's made in another country. And simply oxygen in, ozone out, same thing. So the ozone machines, the technology is there. Now, what if you have an application where you want to have your air cleaned? Well, if you look, for example, in antique stores, you may be able to find something like this. This was an ozone air conditioner, destroys odors. electronic. And this was Now Destroys Odors, ozone air conditioner. This is a real old unit, it's an antique, and it's bulbs. It has these bulbs that simply fit, if you see in the top there, that fit inside there, they light up and create ozone which goes into the air, much like the Calozone unit. So there's lots of ways to package, to make, to design around this idea of making ozone. This is what's called a violet ray. This violet ray machine was used this way. Hear the buzz? If we turn the lights off, you'd see purple sparks shooting off of this. And what this does is it creates ozone out of the air, just like lightning does, and then you apply it to the body. Let's say you have a bruise, a swelling, a sprain. This is now called quackery in this country, but was used for a long time by many, many people in the 1920s and the 1930s. So it's a very interesting unit. Here's one that's from France. I've got this one, it's from France. It's called the Hollow Electron. In the Hollow Electron, you see the old-fashioned plugs on this thing. And it's got an adapter on it, so it can go into an American plug. And it's plugged in like this. Then you take this and you plug it in. This is the wand, the applicator. You plug that in. And then however you want to use this, you have all these different antique attachments. This one's got coil of wire in it. All different ways to use this. And you, let's see, you can hear it buzzing. See? You can see the sparks jumping there. And you apply this to your body, depending on which kind of attachment you want to use. You get different effects with it. Different electrodes do different things. See, this one's got the purple glow. Maybe you can see the purple here. You know, I can smell the ozone right now. As I stand here, I can smell the ozone with that purple glow, and then definitely smelling the ozone on my hand. So this was used in France, in Germany, Australia. We found models in New Zealand. From all over the globe, we found these things. We also have, in the instances where you don't have a bottle of oxygen. When you don't have a bottle of oxygen, the next best thing is an oxygen concentrator. Now, an oxygen concentrator is very simple. This is sold by O2 Technologies in New Jersey, friends of ours. And what this does is it simply takes the oxygen in the air, strips it away from the nitrogen. So you've got 21% oxygen in the air. This unit takes out that 21%, throws away the nitrogen, which is about 79, 80%, and leaves you with maybe 92, 94% pure oxygen, the rest trace gases. Simply plug it in, it goes really, really softly. And if you've ever seen anyone walking around with a cannula in their nose, they have the tube coming down, well, they have an oxygen tank on their hip. When they're home, they have a big unit that stands on the floor, and they hook up to that, and that's an oxygen concentrator. It's giving them oxygen, so they don't have to keep using bottled oxygen. It gives them the oxygen. Well, a lot of things like steam saunas, ozone steam saunas, need an oxygen source. You don't want to have to keep filling up your oxygen bottle. You use an oxygen concentrator. It's low flow. It gives maybe 92% oxygen or so. Not enough for injection work. You never want to use this for injection work, but it's good for all other uses of ozone generation, every other way you need to make it. I want to make an important distinction between a home ozone water purifier and a water sterilizer that's very expensive, made with high-grade ozone-resistant components, has a much higher concentration, and makes a ozone gas equivalent to the finest German and European ozone machines used in clinics all over the world. In the United States and other places, you may find someone who says, oh, I've got an ozone machine, I'm going to treat myself for this disease or that disease, after reading some of the literature and finding out what the doctors all over the world are doing. I just want to caution you, there's a huge difference between a home water purifier, which is only 250 milligrams output per hour, and a medical grade ozone device. This is a Nature Clean. sold by a company over the internet, and it simply takes oxygen from the air, turns it into ozone. It's got a timer on off, and it bubbles. As you see here, it bubbles oxygen into water in the form of ozone, killing all the bacteria and viruses, sanitizing the water. Now follow the reasoning here. Your body, my body here, is 2/3 water. If you're 150 pounds, 100 pounds of you is water. 100 pounds, that's a lot of water. You have to purify that water. How do you purify that water? By using a lot of ozone in your life. You use it in the air, you use it in the water, you shower in it, you bathe in it, you wash your vegetables in it, you put it in oils and creams, you rub it on your body. Any way you can get it into your body is a good way, because the body loves oxygen. The red blood cells, the hemoglobin, just love to take oxygen. And as soon as ozone enters the body, it breaks down into oxygen. All the doctors tell us that it creates oxidative subspecies such as oxygen, and it disappears as ozone almost immediately upon entering the bloodstream or the body. So the body gets filled with these singlet oxygen, good, beneficial free radicals. Now I want to show you how this works. Again, in a medical grade application, let's say this was a German machine in Germany. They've been using it for 50 years. All right, you got bottled medical grade oxygen. You turn it on, the medical grade oxygen goes through here, comes out as pure ozone, 2% and 98% oxygen, goes into the water, and you purify the water. Now, remember I told you that our body, the human body, is 2/3 water. So what if I was to take what they call a catheter, all right? And this is what people do, and I'm not prescribing or diagnosing, I'm telling you what people do. I'm a reporter. And they take one of these catheters, they hook it up to one of these medical grade machines. Now you see how easily this works? They simply put it in like this, and look how it bubbles in that water. Your body is 2/3 water. So what if I was to take this and put it into my anal opening? What if if I was a woman and I was to put it into my vagina? Wouldn't I be putting ozone, 2% ozone, 98% oxygen, pure, no smog, no problem, no embolisms? Wouldn't I be putting that into my body's water by having that ozone pass through the intestine, pass through the vaginal wall, get caught up into the capillary beds, and distribute itself all through the body, through the blood vessels? Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to do? Indeed, that's what they do. Now, if we replace this catheter with a syringe, we simply go to a doctor's office. The doctor takes one of these medical grade equivalent machines, or the one from Germany. He puts a syringe in it, he fills it up, and then if he wants to, he can use that in a variety of different ways. The most common way is to simply inject it very, very slowly, 1 cc per minute, very slow, until the patient coughs. When the patient coughs, then we know, just like if you're filling up the gasoline in a car, the tank, when it's full, will overflow down the side of the car, run down the side of the car. You know, oh, the tank's full, even if you don't look at the gauge. So, in the human body, the way that works is, once you fill the syringe and you put it into the bloodstream, very slow, patient laying perfectly flat, the doctors then inject it very slowly, and when the patient starts to get a tickle or a cough in the throat, you know that the body is outgassing through the lungs the extra ozone it can't use for that moment. And so the patient starts to cough, the doctor knows that's all they can take. I've done this procedure in clinics, had it done to me, and starting out with maybe 15 cc's of 27 microgram concentration ozone, day after day injecting 15 cc's, then 20 cc's, then 25 cc's, then 30 cc's, then 40 cc's, working my way up. After several weeks of doing that, my blood started to turn the cardinal red color of the drape on this table. And when I started, it was dark colored, and as I went through the cleansing, it got darker and darker, and then it got lighter and lighter and lighter, and the bright red color is what I was left with. That's what people are doing in clinics all over the world as we speak today, yet it's still not taught in American medical schools. But listen to how simple it is. It's this simple. The body is a bag of water. 2/3, 66% of me is water. I'm doing with this machine what SeaWorld and all the other aquatic parks and all the other institutions that I tell you about are doing all over the world. They're simply bubbling ozone into the water to purify it. It's this simple. And the proof is that after weeks of this, the color of the tablecloth is what the blood turns into. It turns from the dark brown, dark purple, black, it turns into this color. That's the proof that this is sterilizing the fluid in the body, and you can look at it under a microscope and watch it change too. And if you want to get real technical, you get a microscope, dark field, you look at it, you watch, wow, look at all the stuff in the blood. A few weeks, a couple months maybe of this, it's all gone, it's all clean. All the people that I've interviewed that have turned HIV negative or never get sick anymore, either regularly use this kind of a thing, or they take a home oxygen supplement or something so that they get their blood nice and clean. And that's the whole point of ozone therapy. There's a machine coming out of the Orient that I find very interesting. It's not an ozone machine. It's not an oxygen machine. It's not an air purifier. It's not a water purifier. What it does, though, like the office coolers that I've been telling you about, or the bottled water that I talk about that has the oxygen in it already, this machine oxygenates water. It also does something else very interesting. You'll notice that this is filled with water here. What it has inside it is this magnetic disc. This spins around in the water, and as it does so, it creates a vortex. You'll see that when I turn this on. Now this vortex, you will notice, as this gets going. Now if you look down in the center here, and you get a shot of this, you can see that down in the middle there, that's like in a tornado. That swirling motion is sucking oxygen from the room into the water. Down at the bottom of the funnel, like in a tornado, down at the bottom, you can see all the bubbles in there from all the air. It's actually putting oxygen in there. Also, that mineral basket that's spinning around, is also imparting a magnetic, energetic quality, according to the manufacturer, into the water itself. So this is a very interesting machine. There's a number of brands around. You can find these on the internet. OxygenAmerica.com sells them. It's very interesting. This one is called a Vitalizer. Just so you don't think that I'm the only one out there doing this stuff, if you've never heard of it before, let's go back to, how about 1904. Charles Marchand, chemist from New York City, The Therapeutical Applications of Hydrazone and Glycozone. This book is 1904. This book is filled with reports from doctors reporting things like cures for cancer. In here, 1904, with the therapeutic applications of hydrazone and glycozone. Hydrazone and glycozone was simply oxygen or ozone put into liquids like glycol or water. Amazing book for its time, forgotten in history, been reprinted by Walter Grootz, the modern peroxide proponent in modern times. This is the use of ozone in medicine. The Germans, after ozone therapies were chased out of America by the growing oil baron-sponsored pharmaceutical industry, they flourished in Europe. Modern times, Wiban, they have an ozone association, Rilling, in Germany. This book is just filled with reports how to do things for the practitioner. It's a very scientific book, graphs, charts, for practitioners, photos, for things for people to consider when they're using ozone in their clinics. In 1988, I didn't know about either of those things, but I wrote this book, Oxygen Therapy is a New Way of Approaching Disease. This is the book that went on to become a bestseller, selling over 250,000 copies. All by word of mouth, no major publisher, not in the bookstores, the major bookstores, the chains. So this was the thing that set me on the way, and since then I went on the road and I've lectured all over the world. Other people started to come out with some of these books, following the work of Walter Grootz, and also Father Wilhelm, who was the one that taught Walter Grootz about peroxide. More people came out, the peroxide story. They were all about using the natural peroxide that's produced in our bodies, but taking it orally in water. Dr. William Campbell Douglas talking about peroxide again. This is an MD talking about the oral use of peroxide, calling it a medical miracle, because naturally it releases singlet oxygen, deadly to bacteria, viruses, funguses, and pathogens. So How many applications can you think of? After my book came out, a publisher approached Nathaniel Altman, a writer, and said, hey, I want you to do a book on oxygen, because he was so excited about the success of my book. So that's why you have this book out there, Oxygen Healing Therapies. Richard Neubauer, Morton Walker, hyperbaric oxygen therapy. What they're talking about here is putting people in, like the old iron lungs, the diving bells, the chambers, and increasing the pressure of the atmosphere, forcing oxygen into the body. It's not active oxygen usage, but it has a lot of beneficial effects and is worth much more study. In fact, if you combine this with an active oxygen therapy, that's the best of both worlds, and it's lovely results. And then, of course, you have my book. It's the creme de la creme, the top of the heap. It's the one that says everything that all these books don't say. This goes beyond the Germans and their scientific knowledge, because they only used autohemotherapy. It goes beyond Marchand and everybody else in here, because it talks about all the cutting edge things. And there isn't a book out there about the recirculatory hemoperfusion, which is the ultimate ozone delivery system. It's all in here. 640 pages of oxydynamite. This is just a small example of what's available. There have been books and all kinds of things, but no one has gone out into the world like I have and publicized it everywhere. 1,500 radio and TV shows and speaking platforms over 15 years. It's just insane the amount of work I did. But I did it all for you, so you'd have some answer to some of the problems that you face in life. I have long looked for one natural food that has just about everything you need in it to sustain a good life, and I found it, and it's ancient. It's a great supporting adjunct to the oxygen therapies, and if there are food shortages, it is a great inexpensive storage food that has sustained life through many food shortages and droughts for centuries. We're talking about Moringa oleifera, the National Institutes of Health 2007 Botanical of the Year. Moringa has been around for thousands of years, with documentation dating as far back as 150 AD. The moringa tree is internationally documented for its ability to treat over 300 diseases. I'm not making a claim, this is the international literature. Because of its power to survive in the driest of conditions, Africans honor it with the most powerful of names, Never Die, and the only thing that grows in the dry season, or the mother tree, or the source of life, meanings like that. It's said to be traced originally to Tamil Nadu in India, and there are even farther references, but they just can't be proven as to where this came from. One of the major reasons it can survive the driest of conditions is the plant's ability to retain high concentrations of the so important electrolyte minerals at the cellular level, allowing it to stay internally hydrated during a drought. It has 90 nutrients, 36 anti-inflammatories, and 46 antioxidants, and 539 distinct chemical activities, more than double that of any other botanical or juice now in use. Notice that, MLMers selling your favorite berry juice. Look at the numbers I just told you. It has 18 of the 20 protein-producing amino acids, especially the essential sulfur amino acids, methionine and cysteine. Ounce for ounce, moringa leaves contain 4 times the vitamin A that carrots have, 4 times the calcium of milk, more iron than spinach, 7 times the vitamin C of oranges, and 3 times more potassium than bananas. It's a protein substitute. It has all 8 amino acids contained in meat products and required by the human body. And the protein quality of moringa rivals that of milk and eggs. It has 2 times the protein of yogurt. It's a vegetable protein substitute for meat, eggs, and dairy. So again, if there's food shortages, look at the moringa plant.
Because of the many chemical activities of this botanical, when eaten by an individual, it has the ability to transfer its great healing powers to that person. That's why for decades moringa has saved more lives in third world countries than any other botanical. Prepared properly as food by carefully retaining the nutrients, in other words, you don't throw out the water you cooked it in, you drink the water, things like that, Mother Moringa survives to bring life back to the local people and animals in drought-stricken areas. You can grow this plant in pots, or in the backyard, or buy it wholesale or retail, or build an MLM business with it. It's so nutritionally complete that many detoxify by eating only this during a cleansing fast. Nature's most complete natural food. Word to the wise, if our food distribution chain or healing agent supply is interrupted, grow moringa, distribute moringa, eat moringa. In fact, I advise you to start growing moringa right now, just in case. It's the fastest growing biomass on the planet. Nothing about this plant is wasted. The whole plant is consumed, the leaf powder, leaf puree, seed oil, seed cake, and fruit powder. It's a natural fertilizer. Eat it, and then use the seed oil for smokeless lamp oil, lubrication of machinery, beauty, or injury. Use the pod leftovers for water purification. It's the most nutrient-dense, enzymatically active botanical known to man. Bon appetit! We held back this DVD release so I could add this new section just before publication, because it is absolutely vital for you to also know everything about this information. Folks, this is huge. This information falls squarely under my minerals crown jewel of health category. Now, people often ask me, Ed, what's the general diet that best supports the use of oxygen therapies? Well, of course, that's unprocessed food right from the earth, live and still full of the life force. The bodies we inhabit are grown from the minerals and nutrients of the earth. We are all, in a sense, human plants that have sort of sprouted, grown legs, and now walk around carrying our roots inside our intestines. To survive healthy for long, we constantly need the intake of Mother Nature's original natural forms of nourishment, directly from Mother Nature, our natural earth source that we came from, sprouted from. I say original and natural because these are the qualities that carry the life force, expressed as food and packaged perfectly by nature in a form full of enzymes that we can use directly. Now, when you use a microwave oven, boom, you're getting rid of the enzymes. When genetically modified food, the package isn't the same. You see, you got to get back to nature. Without the enzymes, of course, you can't digest your food. I've told you that before. As I have taught for over 20 years, again and again, almost all health challenges start first with deficiencies. The more I do this, the more I am convinced, the more I interview, the more I'm convinced that it's all starting with deficiencies. It's deficiencies of things that have gotten us into these health problems we have. People went for greed and artificial chemicals and replacements and just as good as, but they really weren't, and that's why everybody's in trouble. To regain health, we must first of all correct our nutritional deficiencies, starting with lots of the missing pure, natural oxygen, water, and minerals. If any of the building blocks that make up our body, are missing, how can we build the whole house? You're going to have a house full of holes. The building blocks aren't there. This house is full of holes. Anything can get in. Bacteria, viruses, fungus, pathogens in particular. This is why I always say, the further you get away from nature, the less health you will have. And the closer you get to her, the quicker you will heal. That's also why 1950s black and white TV star Jack LaLanne, the original pioneering fitness guru, used to say, if it's in a box or a can, or if man touched it, leave it alone. Jack was right. Just like when I was the only one publicly teaching anything about the lost art of the oxygen therapies many years ago, I here again publicly break the huge silence on this complete story by putting all the pieces together for you in one place here on this DVD. My heartfelt thanks go out to Patrick McGeehan, the director of the Live Blood and Cellular Matrix Study. He and I have had many, many discussions, email, phone calls for years about his Body Human project as I researched this. Just as I did with oxygen, I combined documented international scientific research with Patrick's project results and with the results from users I personally interviewed over the years. They all clearly identify the main mineral deficiency we all have. Why is that? Because we're all living on food grown with fertilizers. I could have actually made a career out of telling you about this one mineral instead of oxygen, because it's that important for the fantastic regeneration and healing powers that the body draws from it, and because it enables the body to restart its oxygen delivery. It's all around us and goes unnoticed like the air under our noses. People used to say, "That's amazing, Ed. What you're teaching us is right under our noses." In other words, we're breathing it. Well, this that I'm telling you about now is everywhere. It's all around us. Again, the deficiency of this one mineral is even more unknown and ignored than any oxygen therapies are. Correcting the signal mineral deficiency in the right way may be just as powerful as correcting our oxygen deficiencies. And you'll see why, because this mineral is actually an oxygen therapy that's missing. In addition to our mass societal oxygen and organic mineral deficiencies, since 1954, how many generations is that? Generations of Americans and others now have a major organic sulfur deficiency. Sulfur, huh? We never think about sulfur. What do you know? Well, sulfur's got a funny smell, but you never talk about it. You never hear about it. It's vital to your life. When I say organic sulfur, I'm drawing a sharp distinction between natural sulfur and the rash of over-processed sulfur supplements you see in the marketplace now. Sulfur is the third most abundant mineral in all living organisms. Volcanic activity leaves sulfur deposits all over the planet. Sulfur has crystalline structures. Here's what sulfur mineral crystal structures look like. Sulfur is always found in organized crystalline structures, and sulfur combines with many things and takes on many colors as it does so. Hummingbirds, cat hair, even hair and feathers. Let's look at sulfur crystals. With enough purity and life force, sulfur crystals will grow by themselves. Here's a crystalline life form. Sulfur melts red and burns blue. From the tiniest to the largest, all of life is dependent upon having this sulfur matrix or form or skeleton, exoskeleton, or crystalline structure behind it to hold itself in existence here. Here's the microscopic crystalline structure of tiny life forms called diatoms. They're found everywhere, and like trees, they get their structure from sulfur's crystalline matrix. How about looking at a leaf under a microscope? Do you see the structure patterns? You can really see the crystalline built structure when looking at the underside of the leaf. How about our human skin? Look at the matrix patterns. The whole is a human hair follicle surrounded by our crystalline sulfur skin armor plating. Our skin is actually a crystal flake-like structure. We are actually armored like an armadillo, but the scales are very, very tiny. In fact, everything around us must have sulfur to form and repair itself. Here's what ice looks like. How about raw iron? Organic sulfur forms the crystals of life that build all the structures of life. We see form everywhere. And as these photos are showing you, all life must have organic sulfur to exist. In nature, organic salt water frees sulfur and oxygen during the natural electrolysis of the salt water. Sulfur energy replaces sunlight at deep depths in the ocean. This enables the oxygen saturation of plankton when the plankton gobble up the sulfur. You see, way, way down in the bottom of the ocean, there's no sunlight, so the energy comes from the sulfur. Everybody in the ocean then eats the plankton, of course. Everybody mean the animals, and the fish and all that. Sunlight striking the plankton makes them release the oxygen through photosynthesis. This is one of the two main sources of oxygen on the planet. This also creates DMSO, a remarkable solvent, and methylation of sulfur. Now, I was onto this many years ago when I realized that when the sun struck the plankton, that's where our oxygen source from. I said, whoa, there's something more than that going on, and I was right. And I started researching and digging into it, and this is what I found out. Natural organic sulfur is the crystal matrix that our own cells are built upon. You are a pile of cells. You sitting there, standing there, listening to what I'm saying, you are a pile of cells. These cells have structure. The reason you can sit upright or stand upright and not just be some sort of amorphous mass, like when I kid about you being a bag full of dirty water, well, that structure is from the sulfur matrix, the crystalline structure. Sulfur is responsible for cell wall permeability and the transport of oxygen across our cell membranes and into our cells, and also for the transport of the waste out of the cells. We're always talking about detox. Folks, this is it. The oxygen gets in because of sulfur, and the dirt comes out because of sulfur. Without enough sulfur, our cells become leathery, and oxygen does not get in, and the waste and microbes stay trapped inside us. Check it out with some scientists. Without sulfur, selenium, and tellurium, no oxygen is transported into the cells of animals, that includes us, nor is carbon dioxide metabolized by plants to make the oxygen we breathe. So without sulfur, nobody living, animals, humans, they can't get oxygen into them, and also the plants can't make the oxygen we need to breathe. So is sulfur important? I think it might be. I really think it might be. Here's an example of what happens at first when humans don't get enough sulfur. We call the breakdown of the walls of our sulfur-deficient blood vessels aneurysms. You see how the blood vessel is there, it's nice and symmetrical, and all of a sudden, bloop, it expands like a balloon. Well, that's the breakdown of the matrix holding the form, you see, and then it pops open. Well, that's the sulfur deficiency. Look at the difference in the purity of these two bags of blood. One body had enough oxygen and sulfur, and the other one didn't. What color blood do you want? You know, it's funny. In the movies now, they're starting to show people with black blood. I suppose they think it's more horrific and exciting to you to see it. But you look at the old 50s, 60s movies. When somebody got shot, it was all bright red blood. Now, they get shot, black blood is coming out of them. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that really, really interesting that all of a sudden the blood is so filthy, the movies are now starting to try to tell you that subliminally it's just normal to have black blood. It's not, folks. It's not at all. Every cell in you, listen carefully, I want you to understand this, and that's all that your body is, a bunch of cells, must have the sulfur to create and repair itself and to enable the transport of oxygen. So organic sulfur is really another oxygen therapy. Now, where do we get the sulfur? Humans are supposed to get sulfur by eating plants and food that has a lot of lignin in it, from being grown on naturally mineralized soils. Natural plant lignin is sulfur. Look up the definition of lignin. Eggs have it to feed embryos. Pure pine pitch is loaded with it. They all owe their antibiotic and life-giving properties to sulfur. Now, how about just eating high-sulfur foods? Well, you can. High-sulfur foods are garlic, honey, dandelions, grape skins, cauliflower leaf, dill, parsnip root, horseradish root, garden cress seed, red cabbage, white cabbage, and flaxseed. All have legendary healing qualities, you will notice. But first, you must determine, is the food you're trying to get the sulfur out of grown organically on naturally fertilized soils, not with artificial fertilizers, and with natural minerals in large amounts, concentrations in the soil? You see, if it's not in the soil, how can the plant get it? For example, any forest-grown pine tree sap is chock full of pure, lively sulfur lignin. A field of plants grown on played-out, contaminated by chemical soil may not be, and probably is not. Shiitake mushrooms are 39% sulfur because they grow on trees full of lignin. How many people are looking at shiitake saying, oh, heal me, heal me? You know, it's the sulfur that this mushroom got out of the pine tree full of lignin. But mushrooms aren't antibiotic like plants. They're only a fungus. Did you ever notice that mushrooms grow fast like crystals? 39% is a lot of crystalline structure inside a mushroom. Do people today get enough sulfur? No. Why do you have a sulfur deficiency? Again, we come back to politics, politics, politics. Sulfur is essential to life. It's part of fats, body fluids, and skeletal minerals, all your structures. Yet, you get reduced amounts in your food, and so do your family members and the people around you. Here's why. In 1946, the FDR Farm Subsidies Act got farmers dependent upon government subsidies. Only 8 years later, after the farmer got used to, buying the new pickup truck and not growing his food and getting paid for it, he got all used to that. And 8 years later, in 1954, after the farmers were hooked on subsidies, the act was amended to require all farmers receiving subsidies to switch to using artificial fertilizers instead of nature's manure. This broke the sulfur cycle in our food because the animals were no longer eating the sulfurized plants that then put their manure full of sulfur, which then put it into the soil, which passed it up the food chain to us. Now they're using artificial fertilizers. But when artificial fertilizer is manufactured, the excessive heat boils off the free sulfur at 271 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's replaced by chemical versions like sulfas and sulfates that are not really organic sulfur. People will still call it sulfur, but it no longer really is bioavailable like it's supposed to be. These are weak forms of imitation sulfur that life cannot really use. It sort of uses it, we're alive, but look at all the breakdown in our structures. The net effect is generations of humans eating food without enough organic sulfur. Now, why would the industrialists quietly take nature's free sulfur out of your food by mandating artificial fertilizer use? Because old, out-of-date science said, it's the same thing. And, of course, to sell lots of fertilizer. If you take it out, then you can sell it to somebody because it's not there. But what you sell them is the imitation, and that's what's gotten us into the soup. And, of course, for ease of distribution and use, you put it in a bag. You don't have to have the smelly fertilizer manure truck going around. You just got a bag full of stuff. You spray on things. But is giving up your health worth it? May I ask, with each of our succeeding generations becoming weaker than the one before it, have we had a lot of skyrocketing disease rates since then? Since they took the sulfur out of our food, and we've had generations of people not having enough sulfur, and each generation becoming weaker and weaker in their cellular matrix. Do you think there's a relationship to what's going on now with the skyrocketing disease rates? Drugs are conveniently designed to treat the symptoms of a sulfur deficiency, just like the drugs are designed to treat the symptom of an oxygen deficiency, a mineral deficiency, an enzyme deficiency, all the things I talk about in the crown jewels of health you're supposed to have. Drugs are treating the symptoms, not replacing what's missing. We call the first sign of these deficiencies symptoms, and then, of course, they're chronic symptoms, which then, of course, grow into diseases. The drugs you take do not replace the missing oxygen or minerals, enzymes, pure water, or sulfur. They can only treat the symptoms coming from the lack of these things and never solve the deficiencies which are causing the problems in the first place. It's so simple, folks. Add it all up. Now that you know about your major deficiencies, add the resulting negative effects to the increasing oxygen robbing and body plugging pollution all around us. So you got deficiencies, and then you've got pollution on top of your deficiencies. Now think about the deficiencies of the missing clean energy technologies, the things that will take the pollution away. And we don't have many of them, do we? They all somehow never really seem to be promoted or make it to market. Well, that adds to the pollution, of course. Now add it all up. Why do you think everybody has health problems? That's why, to be sure we get enough active sulfur, we must supplement. And the best way to do that is with a high-quality sulfur-containing supplement. Today, a lot of people try using MSM. But there's two kinds of MSM. There's the unnatural kind, and then there's what we call organic sulfur. It really depends on the amount of lignin in it. How much lignin is in it? How much sulfur crystal is really in it? MSM sulfur supplements are made from either natural sulfur lignin, DMSO, or a chemical-only DMSO with the lignin removed. So someone will tell you, oh, all of these sulfur supplements, they're of course all made from DMSO. There is no difference. Doesn't matter where it comes from. It sure does, folks, because some of the DMSO is pure chemicals and the other is the most natural you can make to still have a supplement that works. The closest we can come to nature's regenerative powers so far is by using DMSO made from pine trees and to process it correctly with the lignin still in it and processed in such a way that it still has the crystalline life structure in it without taking that away in the processing. Don't listen to anyone that tells you all DMSO is the same. That's old information. That's old understanding. Test your sulfur supplement yourself. Take your MSM, put it in water, or the new oxysulfur, put it in water, put it where it will not be disturbed and let the water evaporate. The real active forms of the MSM, sulfur supplement, organic sulfur, will grow into large, spiky, well-defined sulfur crystals. The more natural the MSM, the better defined and more prolific the crystal forms will be. This is how sulfur delivers its matrix patterns and grows and repairs structure in your body, by giving the body this crystalline energy, which then is formed into a matrix of structure, which creates you, and creates you correctly, not weak imitation copy of you, but the real thing. To explain and recap our main point, the commonly available sulfur supplements based only on chemicals have no or very little plant sulfur lignin in them. You'll find these in the huge stores, sulfur supplement, MSM sulfur. These are the ones that are empty of value. And the real vital and regenerative organic sulfur supplements are made with bases of 100% plant lignin. Lignin is sulfur. Lignin has a large number of structural variations and the lack of a defined primary structure. That's what the dictionary says. In other words, everything living uses it to exist, so it's found everywhere in all sizes and shapes. Lignin's most commonly noted function is the support through strengthening of wood, called xylem cells in trees. Lignin is sulfur expressing itself through life forms like us as microscopic crystalline structures. No lignin, and our structure, our youth, ladies, listen up, our youth cannot be maintained without the crystalline structures necessary to keep your skin attached to itself. So you don't get the floppy skin, the lined skin, the sagging skin, all that. That's your crystalline structure. The lignin empty, made only from chemicals, MSM supplements are also further destroyed by being processed in ways that ruin sulfur's ability to repair and create the life matrix in our cells. And then when bottled, they use fillers and machine lubricants that destroy our body's ability to even use the sulfur. For example, if you drink a lot of chlorinated water, you block the uptake of organic sulfur into your body as a food. With some companies, it's all about faster processing and the money, not about your health. The correct type of organic sulfur is processed using methods from 1868. Now, of course, people will say, I've tried MSM. Let me explain that. These cheapened products are exactly why the public's perception of sulfur-delivering MSM is tarnished, and why it is still ignored as a healer. That's why the opinions we commonly hear range from either that MSM did some good, but don't expect too much from it, all the way up to the live blood and cellular matrix study director complaining about his biggest problem. He has 180-year-olds he has to keep telling, stop telling your friends that you found the crystal fountain of youth, because it's not. It's the way that the body can finally use the oxygen that sulfur enables. Back to oxygen, isn't that interesting? If everyone knew what their body could create with enough full-strength sulfur, you couldn't keep it on the shelves, folks. Without anyone knowing why it is causing the confusing reports, the confusion and silence only serve to keep people away from the sulfur. But now you know why. In my opinion, everybody, just about everybody, is touched by artificial fertilizers on this planet. So that means everybody must supplement with sulfur, but you got to be careful. It's up to you to get the necessary organic sulfur back in you in the most natural, vibrant form possible. But watch out, the problem is how to get the real active sulfur supplement manufactured in ways that preserve the sulfur matrix life force. Oh, I've already tried MSM, you say. Have you really? MSM supplements may say they are MSM, but are they? The majority of today's MSM sulfur supplements are made from chemical sources stripped of their lignin and are then improperly processed and are then contaminated further by the use of sulfur uptake blocking fillers and anti-caking agents, all in the name of greed, not in the name of your health. So you listen to me, you go to the health food store and you buy MSM supplements hoping to get the missing dietary sulfur. Even if you're lucky and your brand has some lignin in it and it was processed correctly, the other listed or unlisted ingredients mixed in with it block the sulfur uptake. But you don't have any way of knowing about this because it's not on the label. So just to be sure, you call the factory to check and it's, oh no, the little girl at the desk says, oh no, we don't add anything to our MSM. But then you persist. You actually go to the factory. You get out on the factory floor and you say to the bottling foreman, what is that other powdery stuff you're mixing in there? And he goes, oh, don't worry about that. That's inert. It doesn't count. It's just silicon dioxide, or any of 10 other things, keeping the sulfur crystals flowing, so the machine doesn't clog. So now you know the dirty little secret, why so many people take MSM but still do not know the real benefits available to us from the real organic sulfur matrix. Well, the solution, naturally, Mr. Oxygen to the rescue again. We have a brand called Mr. Oxygen Oxysulfur. I require from manufacturers by mandating the product always be 100% full of lignin and only created with the best processing methods that retain the most life force given to it from nature, and that it never includes sulfur-blocking additives, fillers, or anti-caking agents, whether they're required to be disclosed in the label or not. And good news, you can always get these lignin-based highest potency processed correctly and uncontaminated, currently unavailable anyplace else, biocompatible sulfur, of course, from Oxygen America. In the marketplace, some brands make claims that chemicals are just as good, or they make fun of pine tree lignin, but they absolutely do not compare in potency. Results is what counts, not all the yada 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 before that. It's the results that counts. Mr. Oxygen's subtle energy charged Oxy Earth and Mr. Oxygen's Oxy Sulfur only use the best available materials made in the right way. It's funny the way that sulfur works. If you really need it, you won't like the taste of it. See, it's a crystal powder, and you mix it in water, in hot water, it dissolves immediately. If you really, really don't like the taste of it, then you need more of it. But here's what's interesting about it. Organic sulfur's initial bitter taste is aggravated proportional to the amount of water. In other words, 20 ounces of water is more bitter than 2 ounces. Now, we have some people that have found ways around even any of that bothering them. For example, Florence Heim is 94. She mixes her sulfur 12 hours ahead of drinking it, and the bitterness of the residual DMSO is outgassed. Just like when you let water sit long enough, the chlorine is outgassed in it. Documented best case historical average servings of a good organic sulfur supplement are 1 tablespoon or 15 grams or more of crystals dissolved in pure hot water, then allowed to cool, twice a day continuously. The theory is that since organic sulfur is completely non-toxic, in fact it's less toxic than water, means you can start right at a high serving, and any detoxification discomforts will emerge, but quickly be ameliorated by the extra sulfur. Some very sensitive persons may need to start very, very low in their servings and go very, very slow increasing it, but either way, staying with it is where the results are. Once starting, stopping is not good. In other words, once you start, as I said all through the DVD, once you start a detox, you've got to stay with it. You can keep cutting the servings in half with the oxygen therapies. With this, it's kind of like the opposite. You can increase it to get through it quicker. But stopping is not good. Too many stop way too soon and miss all the fun. I've had so many people, well, I started to feel bad, so I stopped. And then they're complaining they've still got their problem. Well, you got to work it out. You got to see what works for you. Too many stop way too soon, and they miss all the fun. I tried sulfur supplementation sporadically over the years myself, but I used the wrong kinds. See, I didn't know any of this then. I never took it for long enough, and I never tried enough of it. When I did, what a difference. Now that I'm doing it right. I'd love to tell you what all the astonishing results we experience and see are, but current politics prevents me from doing so. Politics, politics. Unlike oxygen and ozone, with thousands and thousands of clinical studies I can quote from, the strange absence of formal medical studies of high-grade organic sulfur taken long-term at the correct dosages and processed correctly means I can only give you half the truth. But take my word for it and ride the sulfur cutting edge all the way up to the next level. Folks, try it. As I have discovered and always say, most illnesses are caused by deficiencies in pollution, which of course means a lack of oxygen, a lack of sulfur, a lack of minerals, a lack of enzymes. But what about the lack of the electromagnetic fields of the natural earth the way it's supposed to be? You see, this all includes everything. These deficiencies, everything around us, our food, the air, the water, the energy of the earth itself we live on, if we're not getting the right amounts of the natural forms of energy, whether it's chemical, mechanical, energetic, gravitic, whatever it is, we're going to have problems. It's been proven that our cells have electric field voltages up to 5 times stronger than a lightning bolt. Amazing, huh? Low amperage, of course, but the voltage is way up there. These are really active. The life force itself is very active electrically. Our bodies use these fields, not magic, to motivate its electrochemical and energetic self-healing mechanisms. When you get cut, what makes everything move the right chemicals, oxygen, minerals, etc., to the site of the wound? When you get sick, how does your body decide, know what to do? It's energy. It's all energy. And these energy signatures, the natural healing, telluric, energetic, gravitic, electromagnetic energies of the earth have to be in the mix. It's all part of it. These natural energy fields are what makes our chemicals and fluids move around to do the repairs. That's what makes us heal. Our modern society is full of high-power, unnatural radio waves, cellular beepers, TVs, computers, data streams, microwaves, satellites. Everything's flooding us constantly with this chaotic energy. This is energy pollution. All day and night, these intruding energies scramble and block our natural magnetic, electric, gravitic healing fields coming from Mother Earth, where we come from. Remember, we're sprouts that have sprouted out of Mother Earth, grown legs, and walk around? Well, those energies are what enable us to do that, as well as the energies, of course, within our heart, the energy of our spirit itself. This is yet one more example of a deficiency created in us by an unnatural condition of living on this planet in modern times with these unnatural sources of energy, transportation, communication, etc. One example of the result of this unnatural electromagnetic body condition is unnecessary pain. Pain is a result of these scrambled fields. Pain is transmitted through our cells as an aberrant electric signal. There are many documented reports of practitioners soon eliminating pain. Now, I'm not making a claim for anything. I'm just saying that the research, the reports from practitioners actually in this field say they're using energy fields to eliminate pain. They use these generators to repattern body energy fields through broadcasting the missing, more natural fields, energy fields, into us. So in this example, how do these field and frequency generators restore electromagnetic energetic harmony and eliminate our chronic body energy pattern deficiencies. Solution: they block the incoming interference from all the chaotic signals around us in this life, using a near-field effect, and then they resupply the missing natural energies long enough for the body to reset its own natural pattern. So first, the energy pollution from outside us that confuses our natural energy patterns is eliminated by the user being immersed in a near-field energy cocoon. In other words, you get close to an energy source, it becomes the only source that's around you. It eliminates the other sources. This is what they do. And then the natural energy resonances around the body are resonantly entrained. In other words, if you have a near-field effect of a strong field around you, and that field is a natural field, that will overcome any chaotic, disharmonious fields that have been bothering you or that have been patterned into you. That will start to dissolve that patterning. This is the theory. And in actual practicality, we are getting results that say that the theory is pretty close to being perfect. The body energies lock into resonance with the generator fields without outside interference because it is so close. Once locked in harmony, or entrained, they call it, the generator resupplies the proper electromagnetic impulses. Our cell membranes act like antennas that then signal our DNA what to do next. Everybody has that kind of wrong. Bruce Lipton is a famous researcher who's proven that the surfaces of the cells tell the DNA what to do, and then the DNA makes the changes. Everyone thinks the DNA is telling everything what to do. It's the other way around. So if you're in a chaotic life, your DNA is getting the wrong signals. If you're in a harmonious energy field, then your DNA gets the right signals. You see how it all works together there? The neuropeptide receptors at the cell membrane surfaces tells the cells to make the body increase its synthesis of ATP energy via enzyme activation, which then, of course, opens cellular ionic channels. In other words, oxygen and minerals, hello again, oxygen and minerals flow into the cells and toxins flow out, all because removing all conflicting energy information allows our natural pain reduction systems to start working naturally again. Our self-healing is not magic. Through this pathway, we have seen that it is possible that our bodies can naturally raise their oxygen levels up to 200%. Again, not making any claims, but this has been reported by practitioners. History shows that, over time, the application of natural pattern waveforms and frequencies at natural strengths close to the body for 8 to 16 minutes a day is sufficient to retrain our body energy patterns to start doing their natural jobs again, giving us energy, relieving pain, increasing their own healing. We don't have time here, but wonderful results across a broad spectrum of effects have repeatedly been experienced and documented by practitioners and patients and owners of these devices. So, of course, this is under my Sound and Light Energy Crown Jewel of Health categories. There is one machine that I have found to be very, very good, state-of-the-art at the moment. It's called the MRS 2000. And if you go to MRS Oxygen, you will see more about this. It has a superior combination of features and Earth's naturally resonant protective healing frequencies. It treats the whole body at once. It's naturally low intensity, like the Earth. It has natural frequencies. It patterns itself after every natural frequency they could find on the planet that affects us. It has a natural sweeping, pulsing effect. It is adjustable to your own natural biorhythms. It does all the alignments necessary to repattern everything correctly. It has the near field protection effect. You lay on a mat, you're right on top of it. And it's got the best warranty, the best support, and the best cost, benefit, value. So go to mrsoxygen.com if you want to know more about this. Again, we're not making any claims. We're just saying this is one of the most amazing areas of research that's not chemical, although it does affect the chemicals in the body. It's not physical. it's energetic, and we're talking the energy. Of course, this is right under my Light and Sound Crown Jewel of Health. So, happy oxygen one more time.